The Chargers are linked to a 6-time Pro Bowl free agent. In this video, we are going to talk about who that player is, but we're also going to talk about other potential free agents. I think you will be amazed when I show you a list of 20 names, how much talent is still out there. And one of the things that we realized very quickly in the last video I did about the Chargers was the salary cap space that you have is much more than expected, not only for this year, but also even while paying Justin Herbert large sums of money, you have salary cap room in years going forward as well. So you actually can be in the mix for these players, and it just makes sense, to be honest with you, because you have a team that is still weak in a couple of areas. So when we are going to link you to that spot, let's figure out what weakness needs to be addressed. So we are going to go ahead, we are going to do that, and we are also going to just kind of look at what your team really just looks like, if I can be honest with you, and what you have at each position, especially in the starting role of each position. So first guy you're linked to, and I said linked almost like I'm Ron Burgundy, because I wanted to make sure it was known that I'm reading this article from Last Word on Sports, and it says in the titles that the Chargers' Calais Campbells are named potential free agent match. How they're actually linked, I don't know. I really don't know how they're linked, if I can be completely honest. But they said that it makes sense, and it does make sense. I mean, there's a lot of things to be desired in the middle. In fact, when you go to PFF and you look at your starting lineup, they don't even have tackles listed, which is kind of interesting, all right? But we can mess around and we can figure out exactly what your tackle room looks like. I guess better way to say it is interior defenders look like, and it's not good, right? Like, you didn't have anybody that posted in the top really 70 in this. Poona Ford was, again, not a top 70 guy last year, which is interesting. I think he's going to be good. I think that Eboigbe is going to be better, but he's a rookie. So bringing in a guy like Calais Campbell actually does make a considerable amount of sense for this team. It really does. But does it make the most sense? And is it a good stopgap while you develop a rookie and possibly wait till next year to either get in free agency or go get another defensive tackle? Interior defender is a need of this team. There are other needs too. You need a second quarterback. I understand the experiment with Christian Fulton. The guy's been injured like crazy. What are you going to do at corner? I think there's some questions about the interior of the offensive line as well. So, and even possibly wide receiver. So I wanted to take a look. Bleacher Report put out a list of the best remaining 2024 NFL free agents still available entering in June. All right. So here we are sitting at June 4th. This article came out 3 days ago, but there hasn't been any movement as far as I know. So I'm just going to go through these kind of quickly, and we're going to pause on a couple of the ones that I think make sense, and then maybe I might make a couple videos later as we enter into June, because right now you have your last kind of OTAs, or your voluntary minicamp, I should say, and then OTAs are kicking off here in a week or so. So, kind of that back half of June into early August, we might be looking at more stuff like this on who you can bring in. I mean, the back half of June and then into July. But Kareem Hunt, running back, I don't see it. Doesn't make sense, so I'm just going to keep moving. Apparently, they do see it as a good fit. I see you guys as having 3 running backs already. 4, to be honest with you. You have 4 running backs already, so I don't understand that one. Offensive tackle, DJ Humphries. This one doesn't make sense because he's hurt still. And now we get to the first person that makes sense to me. You have Bradley Bozeman on your team, and that is a good pickup. That is a good find. I understand it. Mason Cole can add depth to the center position. Bozeman is getting a little longer in the tooth, not terribly, but so is Cole in his late 20s. And I think what's interesting about this is Mason played at U of M. All right, he played for Harbaugh at U of M. And so this one just kind of makes sense to me. He's not going to be an upper tier, upper echelon type of offensive lineman, even center. He's going to be a back half of the starters in the league type starting center, and that's okay. If he can work well within the system, it could absolutely work out well. He was a beast. He played every position on the line for the Michigan Wolverines. All right, let's keep it moving. Offensive tackle, David Bakhtiari. Again, you don't need tackles. You're all set. And if you're going to get a tackle, it's going to be a guy like Alex Leatherwood that you're just throwing at the dartboard and seeing if it sticks. Safety, Micah Hyde. This is interesting. This is kind of interesting because you have your starting safeties in place. There's just no depth. So is a guy like Micah Hyde even thinking about coming in here and being like, you know what I want to do? I want to play backup. I don't think so. I don't think he is. So unless you're thinking of playing Derwin more in the slot at nickel, up against the slot at nickel, this doesn't make a ton of sense. Michael Thomas, injuries, and more injuries. So I like to steer clear of that one. Hunter Renfrow, you have Ladd McConkey, you have Josh Palmer. It just doesn't, as far as wide receivers go, this doesn't move the arrow for me. This just looks like something that prevents a guy like Quentin Johnson. This looks like something that prevents Ladd McConkey, Brendan Rice, like some of these young wide receivers from getting the run that they need to get. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Edge, again, you have the best edge room in the country. I know that sounds very college football like, but in the NFL, you have the best edge room. You don't need that. Jaron Kearse, again, not a premier position, but could be helpful. It's kind of interesting. Same with Jamal Adams, Yannick Ngakoue, don't need him. And this is where you start to see, like, man, we actually have a pretty decent team, don't we? Now, they're saying edge, Calais Campbell. He's not an edge. He's 37 years old. We already talked about him. This is a guy who absolutely fits. Let's talk about him just a little bit more and what he brings. All right, he played for the Ravens in 2020 to 2022. So this is kind of where you get the, oh, right. All right, I believe that first year, Minter may have been there. He may have been there in 2020. He might have been already at Vanderbilt at that time, though. And then it was a logical fit there. If it makes sense for him to go back to Baltimore, to be completely honest. All right. Or Cincinnati. It seems like he played a year last year with the Falcons, and he's done with his run of teams that aren't really ready to compete for a Super Bowl now. And if he wants to keep playing, he's going to want to play it at the highest level. I don't think you need to spend money on a backup quarterback, but maybe you feel you're ready to compete. To me, Ryan Tannehill is a backup quarterback at this stage in his career, and he would go to a team that is competing. He might still want to be a starter. I understand that for him, but it makes sense for me for him to go to a team that's like, you know what, we're ready to win a Super Bowl this year, so we need to have a backup plan at quarterback just in case ours goes down for a few games. This seems like more of a next year thing for the Chargers than a this year thing. And now we're getting into the players that just make sense. If you want to improve your corner room right now, Patrick Peterson is that guy. All right. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler. He's 34. He'll be turning 34. At any point, it's just going to explode for this guy. His career's going to be done. But he's just a guy in a list of just a massive amount of cornerbacks. Xavier Howard will turn 31. He's younger, but I got to be honest with you, he's not acting like he's younger, right? His career, his injuries and things like that have really gone hill the last few years, last 2 years. He's a Pro Bowler in 2020, and then it hasn't been wonderful since then. We'll see, all right? So it hasn't been terrible, but it hasn't been good. This is the one I like. Cornerback Steven Nelson. He's 31 years old, but he may have just had his best season in the NFL. Again, he's coming from a system that is cornerback friendly in Houston. It is cornerback friendly, and we know that because it was cornerback friendly in San Francisco. He brought it. D'Amico Ryans brings it to Houston. It's cornerback friendly there. We saw that with both the emergence of Stingley and a career resurgence year for Steven Nelson, maybe even a best year of his career. So, guess what? So is the Chargers. it is going to be a quarterback-friendly system as well, just based on what we're seeing from D coordinators that have been in Baltimore and at U of M. It's a cornerback-friendly system. I like that one. If not that, I'd rather go Gilmore than Patrick Peterson. That's just where I'm at. So, again, he'll turn 34. I think if you go Nelson, you could even sign him to a 2-year contract, 2 or 3. He's probably seeking 3. The later we get into June and into July, that ticks down to 2 or even a 1-year contract for Nelson. Gilmore's a 1-year deal. And then you end with Justin Simmons. Again, great player. But he's 30, and he plays at a position you don't necessarily need. So there's a lot of talent still on the board. You have a lot of money to spend. What area of weakness are you going to try and improve? We'll do more videos on this later, but we'll continue to talk about minicamp and OTAs if Harbaugh allows the media to actually see what's going on. All right, thanks for watching. See you.